You know that saying that kids say the darndest things? Well, it's possible that our speaker has heard more of those delights than anyone in this room. She is a professor of applied human development at Boston University, where she directs the Social Learning Lab. Her research looks at all the many ways children develop beliefs about the world around them. Here to tell you more is Kathleen Corriveau.
Good morning. When my daughter, Caroline, was 4, she was obsessed with death. I mean, obsessed. We had a family member that had recently passed away, and every day when we went to preschool, we would pass a graveyard, and she would always have questions. What does it mean when you die? Why is the body different from the soul? What's going on with heaven? Is there just one heaven? And we all go there? It was constant. And it made my mother absolutely crazy because Caroline also was thinking about the future. And she would say things to my mother like, Nana, when I grow up, I'm going to get married, but you're not going to be there because you'll be dead. And as someone who studies how children make decisions about what to trust and who to believe, I should have seen this coming, because understanding what death is really complex, because Caroline's never had firsthand experience dying. None of us have. And so to understand the concept of death for Caroline, she had to turn to a trusted source of information, like mom or someone else in her community. And it turns out that children are actually very good at this. So rather than being just a blank slate, they're really discerning. And by the time they're 3, we've found that they use multiple cues to make decisions about who to trust, ranging from things like, have you been accurate in the past? Or are you a member of someone's social group? So for example, when children prefer to learn from someone who is a member of their same race, their same gender, speaks the same language as them, and actually speaks with the same accent. And when you think about belief, it actually gets even more complicated when you think about belief in the invisible or the unknowable, like death. And there's lots of domains where that happens. So, for example, understanding the existence of scientific entities, like germs or COVID, or understanding the existence of God or angels. And all of those, we have to turn to someone else to know what to believe. And you can see why this really matters. Entire wars are happening right now based on what to believe about who should be on certain lands. And global decisions are being made right now based on whether or not people think climate change is real. And even in the US, we're finding that the presidential election this past year has highlighted differences in what is true and what is false. And so I say all these to highlight for you that these people fighting, these adults, they were once kids. And they once had to believe all of these things and learn how to believe them. And their beliefs now are affecting their actions currently. So how do we know what to believe? Well, I'm going to make it even more complicated for you because we're going to think about global beliefs. And global beliefs really vary. And the problem with that is, right now, 96% of the people in our studies come from like 3 countries, like the US and Canada and the UK. But that makes up 12% of the world's population. So if we want to make inferences, that's going to be really challenging. You might have heard this term, weird populations. Weird refers to Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. And that's where all the population studies mostly come from. So how are we going to make global inferences? So the way that we did it was we chose to study belief in children globally, with the help of the John Templeton Foundation. And studying belief in children may actually be even more important than studying belief in adults. And that's because acquiring an initial belief is a lot easier than revising a belief when it becomes entrenched. And that's why misinformation is such a challenge, because once a belief is acquired and becomes entrenched, even if it's wrong, it's very challenging to change it. So by studying beliefs in kids, we have the opportunity to mitigate conflict based on different beliefs even before it happens. But I know that I'm not an expert in all beliefs. So we needed to have a global partnership with a bunch of researchers. So over the past 10 years, we've designed and developed what we've been calling the Developing Belief Network. And it currently has over 200 scientists globally that are taking place. And if you've heard the saying, herding cats, can you imagine creating one protocol that works for all people across the globe with that many minds? And during the pandemic, it was fun. But we did it. We now have data from 19 countries, 5 different continents, about 2,300 children and their caregivers, and about a little under 50 separate religious groups within those countries. And the countries range from polarized locations with religion, like Northern Ireland, to countries where different religious groups cohabitate peacefully, like Singapore. In addition, we were able to collect data from the children and the families over 3 different time points, longitudinally. So we were able to ask questions about how beliefs can change over time and development, which has never been done before with this with this type of global sample. And right this second, we're in the process of making those data publicly available to everyone, which means that this project won't just benefit our 200 researchers, it should benefit the entire global scientific community. So there are so many findings that I find interesting from this study. I'm just going to tell you one because it's one of my favorites. One thing that we were interested in was whether or not children recognized the connection between their own religious group and the beliefs that they had and the holidays they celebrated and the rituals that they performed. So to do this with children, we told them some stories about some other kids that they had never met. Some of the kids engaged in those same religious practices and had the same beliefs, but we didn't label them as them being part of the same group. And others of them just did kind of completely mundane activities, like reading the dictionary. And what we found was that by 6, across all of our religious samples to date, children believed that the person that engaged in the same beliefs and practices was a member of their religious group. But what was even more exciting was right up until the age of 10, children also thought that that person that was just reading the dictionary was also a member of their religious group. And what that points to is this incredible opportunity to have a developmental period where it is ripe for intervention. So said another way, talking to young learners about different religious groups, but highlighting similarities between them, might mitigate any sort of stereotypes before they even start. So I'm going to just close by saying I hope what I've shown you by talking about the importance of religious beliefs is that by doing so globally, we have the opportunity to answer basic scientific questions like how do children understand invisible entities, to things of global importance, like how children get to understand themselves, how other people, and their place in the world. And we hope by studying these religious beliefs, that will provide the first step towards a roadmap toward a more peaceful global society. Thank you.